Good evening, wonderful listeners. I hope you had a wonderful day and are able to sleep to the following romance story. Sleep tight and sweet dreams. Title: The Crown of Ash and Flame. Chapter 1. The Queen of Thorns. Rain fell over the battlements of Eldros Keep, streaking the grey stone with silver and cloaking the world in mist. Queen Seraphina of Eltheria stood alone atop the eastern tower, her scarlet cloak whipping in the wind like a flame against the twilight. She was a vision of sovereign power, crowned with a circlet of iron thorns, her raven hair braided down her back, eyes like polished amethyst. A kingdom mourned and feared her in equal measure. Below, in the castle's lower courtyard, a stable boy wrangled an unruly wyvern colt, its scaly wings beating against the air. His name was Callan. Tall, lithe, with unruly copper hair and arms muscled from years of toil, he was as ordinary as one could be, except perhaps for the way his green eyes shimmered with something not quite human. When the wyvern snapped too close, Seraphina's voice rang out from above. "Use your voice. They listen to tone more than command." Callan glanced up, startled. Royals did not speak to stable hands. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said, bowing. She watched him a moment longer before vanishing into the mist. But something shifted in her that day. A curiosity, a hunger, not just for his skill with beasts, but for something wilder, something untamed within herself. Chapter 2. The Moonlit Garden. A royal hunt was declared in honor of the late king, Seraphina's father. Nobles and knights assembled, and Callan found himself chosen to accompany the queen's entourage, tending her steed and the dragons that circled overhead like vigilant shadows. One evening, while repairing a saddle near the queen's private gardens, he heard music, haunting, ethereal. Drawn to it, he found Seraphina seated at a marble bench beneath the moonlight, fingers trailing the strings of a silver harp. "Forgive me," Callan said, half turning to leave. "Stay." He did. They spoke of music and beasts, of the old gods and forgotten magics. He made her laugh, a sound rare and wild. Her smile, usually a weapon, softened. As silence settled, Seraphina stepped closer. "You are not like the others." "Nor are you." Their eyes met. Her hand brushed his, then lingered. That night, he dreamed of fire and her voice calling his name in the dark. Chapter 3. Secrets in the Stables. Desire blossomed between them, furtive glances, stolen touches in the dark. In the hush of the stables, with hay and dusk clinging to their skin, they became lovers. Their first night was an unmaking. Seraphina, proud and fierce, melted under Callan's touch. He worshipped her as one might a living flame, savouring every gasp and moan that passed her lips. His hands roamed her body with reverence, with hunger. She tasted like spiced wine and danger. Her whispers drove him mad with need. She took control, then relinquished it. She rode him like a storm, his queen in every sense. By the end, their bodies lay tangled in moonlight, slick with sweat and breathing ragged. But danger loomed. The High Inquisitor watched too closely. The court buzzed with whispers. Magic stirred beneath the castle stones. Chapter 4. The Fire Within. When an assassin nearly ended her life, Callan revealed his secret. He was Fey, descended from a forgotten line of forest spirits. His blood shimmered with green fire. His kiss, once soothing, now crackled with ancient power. Seraphina defied the council. She shielded him from chains and blades. They made love again that night in her chambers, desperate and raw. His magic surged through her skin, lighting her veins with ecstasy. She cried out his name, nails scoring his back, demanding he give her more. He did. That was the night she marked him. Not as a servant, but as her equal, her chosen, her consort. They swore an oath beneath the roots of the world tree. Magic flared, binding their souls. Her fire, his earth. Her fury, his calm. Chapter 5. Court of Thorns. Now bold in their love, Seraphina and Callan dared to show glimpses of their bond. A touch of his hand at a feast, a stray lock of her hair braided in the Fae style. The nobility seethed. One night, during the summer festival, they disappeared into the Queen's rose garden. There, beneath a moon-bloated sky, he undressed her slowly, reverently, with a knight's care and a lover's hunger. He kissed every scar, every freckle. When he sank into her, it was with a groan torn from the depths of his soul. They didn't return until dawn. Rumors spread like wildfire. The people began to call her the Queen of Flame and Green. Chapter 6. Blades and Betrayals. The High Inquisitor made his move. Callan was arrested. Seraphina's fury was a tempest. She freed him in a blaze of fire magic, not seen in Altheria for centuries. The palace shook. The throne room burned. They fled to the mountains, to the old Fae sanctuaries. There, their love grew fiercer. They trained together, blade to blade, body to body. They made love in waterfalls, in caves lit by glowing moss, on Dragonback under the stars. Chapter 7. The Dragon King's War. When the corrupted Dragon King rose from the eastern wastes, they returned. Eldros Keep stood on the brink. Seraphina and Callan led the charge, her sword burning with phoenix fire, his spells warping the battlefield. In the final battle, they fought back to back, bloodied, unbroken, and when victory came, it was their love that had won it. But the magic faded, the world tree withered. Seraphina laid down her crown. Chapter 8. Ashes and Eternity. They vanished into legend, retreating to the emerald forests of his kin. There, in a cottage nestled among moonflowers and whispering leaves, they lived, free, wild, devoted. And when the wind rustled through the trees, the villagers swore they heard moans and laughter, a queen's voice crying out in pleasure, a lover's reply in Fae. For even queens deserve to choose their fairy tales. End of Book 1. Title: Crown of Shadows and Song. Book 2 of the Ash and Flame Saga. Chapter 1. The Thorn and the Flame. The emerald forests of Lithriel whispered with secrets. Magic hung thick in the air, older, wilder than the court-bred sorcery of Eltheria. In the sanctuary of a moss-covered cottage, Queen Seraphina stirred beneath silk sheets, her body still humming from Callan's touch. Sunlight filtered through crystal-paneled windows, casting rainbow patterns over their tangled limbs. "Stay in bed," Callan murmured, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. His voice was a low growl now, darker since the awakening of his full Fae nature. "I'm a queen without a crown," she replied, stretching like a satisfied cat. "Surely that means I can sleep in." He rolled over her, lips brushing her jaw. "It means you can rule from bed." And she did, at least for the morning. But peace never lingers long in lands carved from war. The world tree, dying since their last battle, sent a warning on the wind. Another had taken the throne, and with it, a power older than dragons stirred beneath the continent. Chapter 2. The Witch Queen of Verelda. News arrived by Wyvern Rider. A sorceress had crowned herself Queen of Verelda. Her name, Lysari, once a noblewoman exiled for blood magic, now reborn as the Witch Queen with a court of revenants and shadow-bound beasts. Serafina's fingers trembled when she read the report. Lysari had once been her closest friend and lover before betrayal sundered them. She was the first woman I ever loved, Serafina confessed to Callan that night, beneath the glow of enchanted lanterns. His jaw tensed, but he listened. And now she threatens everything. She always wanted more than love. She wanted power. Callan kissed her then, not gentle, but possessive. A reminder that Serafina was his now. But even as she moaned into his mouth, her thoughts strayed to the past. To lips once kissed in secret, and to the fire that still lingered when Lysari's name was spoken. Chapter 3. Web of Desire. They travelled to the fallen borderlands. Serafina rode her dragon, Aurelian, while Callan rode beside her, his fey magic crackling with tension. The nights were filled with longing and conflict. One evening, by a river laced with stardust, Serafina bathed in silence. Callan watched from the bank, hunger darkening his eyes. When he joined her, it was not gentle. It was teeth and tongue, dominance and surrender. Water hissed as their bodies met. Her cries echoed through the valley. But even in his arms, she felt Lysari watching, and when they reached the ruined city of Tor Illyria, the shadows came alive. Chapter 4. Return of the Exile. Lysari stood in the throne room of a shattered cathedral, robed in crimson silk and shadow. Her beauty had grown terrible. Eyes like molten gold, lips stained with power. "Serafina," she said, voice like a song that once meant safety. "I never stopped dreaming of you." "You betrayed me," Serafina hissed. "I loved you, and you chose a crown." Callan stepped forward, protective. Lysari's eyes narrowed. "A pet, Serafina. You've grown soft." Tension crackled, magic bloomed, but Lysari didn't attack, not yet. Instead, she whispered, "I offer you a place beside me. Rule as we were meant to, you, me, and the fire between us." Serafina said nothing, but that night she dreamed of Lysari's hands on her skin and woke tangled in Callan's arms, heart racing with guilt. Chapter 7. The Pact of Night and Flame. 3 weeks passed, and Virelda's forces grew more daring, pressing into lands long protected by the old magic. Fires raged through the eastern forests, and Serafina knew Lysari was testing her resolve, forcing her hand. In secret, she met with the remaining Council of Eldros in a hidden glen, guarded by whispering willows. Callan stood beside her, his presence grounding, but her thoughts twisted like smoke. "I will go to Lysari," she said at last. Callan's jaw clenched. "You can't trust her." "I don't, but I know her, and I know how to break her." He stepped forward, hands framing her face. "And if she breaks you first?" Serafina leaned into him. "Then let the pieces burn." That night, they made love like it could be the last time. She rode him until she was breathless, then let him take her until the fire in her blood drowned the fear. Afterward, wrapped in furs, they whispered promises that neither truly believed. Chapter 8. Into the Vireldan Night. Under cover of darkness, Serafina crossed into enemy territory alone. Lysari welcomed her with a feast of roses and ash. Her palace was carved from obsidian, a monument to pain and power. Serafina was offered silk robes and wine laced with truth root. Lysari took her to the highest tower. "I don't want to destroy you," she said. I want to possess you. Seraphina bared her throat. Then try. Their reunion was fire and fury, dresses torn, lips bloodied, hands exploring old scars and new curves. Magic sparked off the walls as their bodies collided. For a night, Seraphina let herself be devoured, and in the morning, she awoke alone. The palace was silent. Too silent. Chapter 9. Betrayal beneath the mountain. Callan had not waited. He and a team of Fey warriors infiltrated the mountain fortress, determined to save Seraphina, or die trying. But what he found shook him. She was not imprisoned. She was standing beside Lissari, robed in black fire, her eyes glowing like the old gods. Seraphina, he whispered. She turned. You shouldn't have come. Lissari smiled. She is mine now. No, Seraphina said, voice cold. I belong to no one, not anymore. Then the mountain shook. A rift tore open in the earth, spewing violet flame. From it rose something ancient, scaled, winged, and wrong. The worm of the hollow star, bound to Lissari's blood. Callan reached for Seraphina, but she vanished in a pulse of dark light. Book 3, Crown of Embers and Echoes. Chapter 1, Embers of a Legacy. The realm of Eltheria entered a new age, one of harmony and myth reborn. Queen Seraphina and Callan, her once stable boy turned Fey consort, ruled not from a gilded throne, but from the heart of the Lithriel wildlands. Here, they lived in symphony with dragons and druids, bathed in the glow of the reborn world tree. Under those verdant boughs they wed, an elemental union of fire and earth. Their love, once forbidden, now shaped the future, and from their love came Elira. Born beneath a sky painted with auroras and heralded by a dragon's roar, Elira entered the world glowing. Her eyes shimmered with amethyst fire. Her skin bore faint marks of verdant magic. Seraphina called her a wildfire. Callan called her a seedling. She grew as both. Elira was no court-born lady. She wrestled wyverns, climbed ancient ruins, and swam with river spirits. She learned swordplay from the queen and diplomacy from her father. But of all things, she remained restless, a storm waiting to become. And one spring morning, during the festival of Bloomfire, the storm stirred. Chapter 2. The Silver-Eyed Songbird. The festival lit the glade in ribbons of music, food, and enchantment. Musicians from across the land gathered, but none shone brighter than the bard's apprentice from Thalesmere. Her name was Callan, silver-eyed, quick-tongued, and confident in a way that made Elira's heart beat differently. Callan's voice wove spells without magic. Her laughter struck like lightning in the chest. Elira couldn't stop watching her, and Callan watched back. They met beside a lantern-lit stream, where Callan tuned her harp and hummed to herself. Elira tried to appear casual, but her stomach tangled in knots. I liked your song, she said. Callan grinned. I wasn't singing yet. Elira blushed. Then I liked your silence. And so it began. Chapter 3. Blushing Flame. Their courtship was a tapestry of stolen glances and whispered verses. Callan left love notes carved into trees. Elira responded with sparring lessons that ended in laughter and 2 long touches. It wasn't long before Callan pulled Elira into the shadows of the rose garden, their lips meeting in a kiss sweet as honey and as sharp as thorns. It was tentative, then daring, then needy. Elira felt her heart open like a flower beneath the sun. One night, they found an abandoned watchtower. It became theirs, a secret place where kisses turned into moans. where magic crackled beneath their skin and where they learned each other's softness and strength. Elira trembled the first time she undressed. Kaelin only smiled and worshipped every inch of her. "I want you," Elira whispered. "You already have me," Kaelin replied. Chapter 4. Beneath the Blossoming Moon. Elira introduced Kaelin to her parents. Callan eyed the bard warily, but said little. Seraphina took Kaelin's measure with the gaze of a queen and mother. That night, she and Elira sat by a fire, wrapped in silence until the queen finally spoke. "She looks at you like I once looked at your father." Elira smiled. "Then you know I'll follow her." Seraphina didn't smile back. "Just be sure she won't lead you into fire." But Kaelin was already aflame in Elira's soul. Chapter 5. Whispers from the Rift. Peace cracked like ice beneath weight. Rangers returned with word of strange happenings near the ruins of Verelda. The land was shifting, animals fled. Magic turned erratic. Elira felt the pull in her blood, a storm calling to its daughter. She wanted to go. Her parents forbade it. Kaelin encouraged her. What are you if not your own fire? And so, in the dark before dawn, Elira and Kaelin fled the glade. Chapter 6. The Ashlands Beckon. The Ashlands greeted them with dead winds and skies forever grey. Magic here twisted like smoke, neither holy nor damned. Kaelin changed. She grew quiet, withdrawn. Elira didn't press. Not yet. They made love in the shadow of stone giants, bodies desperate and seeking reassurance. But after, Kaelin cried into Elira's chest. "I feel like I'm fading," she said. "Like something's calling me home." Elira didn't understand. Not then. Chapter 7. The Hollow Truth. They found the cult near a rift pulsing with violet light. Children of the hollow star, cloaked in ash and bone. And standing at the altar, singing to the rift, Kaelin, or someone who looked like her. Elira turned. Kaelin stood beside her, shaking. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Not until now." Her eyes glowed, magic flared, memories awakened. "I'm their daughter," she gasped. "They made me. I was sent to you." Elira's heart shattered. "But I chose you," Kaelin begged. "Then prove it," Elira said, blade drawn. Chapter 8. Fire and Fracture. The battle erupted. Magic surged. Kaelin sang a counterspell, destroying the rift's edge, buying time. Elira fought like her mother, blade, flame, and fury. She bled. She burned. She survived. But in the end, Kaelin was taken by the rift's pull. "I love you," she said, vanishing into light. Elira screamed, and the rift closed. Chapter 9. Scars and Seeds. Elira returned home a ghost. Her parents met her in silence. Seraphina pulled her into arms that had once held a kingdom. Callan said nothing, only pressed a glowing hand to her chest and whispered a fey song of healing. But Elira did not heal. Not yet. Instead, she began to train, not as a warrior, but as a queen. Chapter 10. A flame reignited. Years passed. Elira grew. Then, on a summer's eve, a rift flickered open at the edge of the forest, and from it stepped a woman, silver-eyed and weary. Kaelin. Their reunion was tentative, hopeful. The kiss, cautious, but warm. They spoke all night, and when dawn came, Elira took Kaelin's hand. "Start over with me," she said. Kaelin smiled. And together they did. End of Book 3. If you're still awake, thank you for listening. If you've fallen asleep, sleep tight, and I wish you a great night. Until next time.
Prologue. What was lost? Before the flames, there was silence. Before the silence, there was a bond, born not from fate, but choice. Kaelin Thorn, exile and heir, and Lyra, flame-touched sorceress of the Wormwood, rekindled their connection in the heart of a dying world. Together, they defied the hollow flame, a monstrous entity that fed on forgotten love and fractured time. Their union reshaped the broken realm into a world of memory, a dreamscape of perfect skies and still cities, built from emotion, sealed by devotion. But all magic bears cost. The realm was never meant to last. The forgotten stirred. Ancient gods, the keepers, warned them. Others would come, and one did. Kaelin's brother. Alive, changed, and not alone. Now, love must become a weapon again. Kaelin hadn't moved since the word of brother left the stranger's mouth. The man who stood in the shattered corridor of the Echo Citadel was a mirror of Kaelin, older, perhaps, or more worn by bitterness than time. His armor gleamed with crimson flame etched in golden veins. At his back was a great sword forged from obsidian and chained soulfire. And his eyes, Kaelin knew those eyes. They belonged to Darius Thorn, a prince once thought dead. Darius, Kaelin whispered, like a curse spoken through a prayer. You never bothered to look for me, Darius said. You just assumed the fire took me, that I died screaming in the ash. Kaelin stepped forward. We were told you fell in the siege of Frostmere. We saw your blade buried in the wall. Left behind, Darius snapped, just like I was. Lyra placed a hand on Kaelin's shoulder, her voice calm but cold. What do you want, Darius? I want our kingdom back, he said. The real one. Not this dream. This world you two conjured from love and guilt. He stepped into the chamber, and with each footfall the air rippled, his magic radiating heat and rage. You can't hold it, he continued. The forgotten are coming. The keepers are watching. And you're still acting like this is a story that ends in happily ever after. Kaelin raised his sword. So what? You'll tear it all down? No, Darius said, drawing his own blade. I'll wake it up. Darius struck first. Not with steel, but with sound. A wave of force shattered the war chamber's walls. The Oracle of Fire screamed as flame surged through her veins, her final prophecy burning from her lips. He bears the brand of the godless flame. The thorn shall split, one to save, one to ruin. Then she was gone, dissolved into cinders. Kaelin and Lyra were thrown back as Darius vanished into a portal of blood-red light, leaving behind only a scorch mark shaped like a dragon's eye. Outside the citadel, the world cracked. The sky, the dream sky, split, revealing streaks of the true world beyond. A war-torn continent, a broken sun, 1,000 cracks in the veil. Reality was waking up. And so were the forgotten. 2 weeks passed. Kaelin and Lyra retreated deep into the Whispering Mountains, seeking what few allies still existed in this memory-made realm. The cities were beginning to fade, their illusions peeling away. Some citizens, shaped from emotion and fragments of the past, were waking up to realize they had never truly lived. And they were angry. Some wept. Others turned violent. Worse still, Darius had begun to recruit them. He offered them a truth Kaelin could not: permanence. "If you follow me," his message said, broadcast through flickering flames, "you will become real. You will walk in the waking world again." And some believed him. Kaelin stood before the Emberheart Forge, an ancient site hidden beneath the mountain where fire mages once shaped magic into weapons that could cleave between realms. Lyra traced the sigils on the stone. "We can use this. The Keepers sealed it, but your blood, your lineage can awaken it." Kaelin hesitated. What if Darius is right? What if this world is a lie? She turned to him, fire dancing behind her eyes. "Then we burn the lie and build something better, together." They pressed their palms to the forge. The mountain screamed. Flame erupted. Magic surged, and the forge opened. From its heart rose a blade not made of steel, but memory and vow. "This is your sword now," the forge whispered. "It will not strike for war, but for truth." Kaelin took it, and far to the east, Darius felt it awaken. Chapter 5. The Sleeping Throne. Arendor wasn't the only realm shaped by the hollow flame. In the early days, before Kaelin and Lyra's magic rewove it, fragments of reality had splintered. Dream kingdoms, half-born, scattered across the border between sleep and waking. Some were cities of eternal dusk, where time didn't flow, and memory looped like music. Others were nightmares made flesh, wounds in the world where grief took shape and screamed. These places were waking now, and their rulers, once forgotten, were remembering their thrones. In the dream spire of Virelia, a queen wrapped in moonlight opened her eyes. In the sunken labyrinths of Thren, creatures that looked like men but wept salt instead of blood tore free from their glass prisons. And in the fortress of black mirrors, a lord of chains whispered, "Darius Thorn walks again." Kaelin and Lyra traveled north, across the ash-glass expanse toward a kingdom called Elendor, once ruled by Kaelin's great-grandmother. There, in the shattered halls of the bannerless court, gathered those who refused allegiance to either god or king. These were mages and mercenaries, exiles and seers, people who had survived the death of the old world and the birth of the dream. They had no flag, but they had cause. Led by a woman known only as Marrow, a former flamebinder turned rogue, the bannerless agreed to listen to Kaelin's call, but not follow him blindly. "You burned the world once, Thorn," Marrow said, flame-forged blades crossed behind her back. "Why should we let you hold the torch again?" Kaelin unsheathed the memory-forged blade he'd drawn from the Emberheart Forge. It flickered with scenes: his past, Lyra's sacrifice, Darius's betrayal. "I'm not here to burn anything," he said. "I'm here to end the war before it starts." To win, they needed allies. Lyra reached out to the Keepers, the ancient forces that governed balance between dreams and waking. She summoned them through the ritual of the kindling, offered her blood and her bond with Kaelin as payment. Only one came: Vero, Keeper of Twilight Paths, a shifting, godlike being cloaked in stardust and shadow. Its face was always changing, a reflection of whoever looked upon it. "You've broken the balance," it said. "You've turned love into a weapon." Lyra stood tall. Then teach us to wield it. Varel stared into her soul. Very well, but love, once turned, does not return whole. It remembers blood, and it remembers betrayal. It lifted a hand, and a star map appeared between them. At its center, the cradle of flame, a place neither real nor imagined, the source of the hollow flame, the birthplace of the first fire, and the final key to restoring or unmaking reality. There, Varel whispered, that is where this war ends. Meanwhile, Darius moved through the waking realms with growing force. His army now included not just forgotten and broken souls, but crownless, beings stripped of their kingdoms when the world fractured. Some were old kings turned to stone. Others were wolves who once wore the faces of men. They followed Darius because he offered them what Calin could not: a return. Return to power. Return to flesh. Return to the old ways. Among them, the Witch King Vaelros, master of bone storms, Queen Sorel the Glassbound, whose words could shatter cities, and the Pale Twins, assassins born from a dead god's dream. They called themselves the Scorchborn Host. And they marched. Calin, Lyra, and the Bannerless reached the edge of the Cradle of Flame. But Darius was already there. The two armies stared across a plain of obsidian ash. A storm of magic twisted above them, formed from love, memory, grief, and fire. A storm that could rewrite the world. Calin turned to Lyra. No more dreams. No more running, she said. Then the sky cracked, and the first arrow flew. The first arrow didn't come from Darius. It came from the sky. A streak of white fire split the clouds above the Cradle of Flame, tearing through the storm of memory and magic like a god's scream. It struck the obsidian plain between the armies, exploding into a shockwave that knocked soldiers from their feet, shattered the air into fragments of reality, and left a single mark scorched into the earth. Not a sigil, a warning. Calin rose slowly, ash clinging to his shoulders, eyes locked on the smoke curling from the crater. That wasn't his doing, he said. That was something else. Lyra stood beside him, expression pale, lips pressed thin. The keepers? No. A new voice cut across the field. Marrow stepped forward, armor smoking, her curved daggers drawn. That was the Sunborn. Calin turned to her. Their myth. Everything's a myth until it wakes up angry, Marrow replied, eyes scanning the far side of the field where Darius's army began to regroup. And they're watching. Whoever wins this fight inherits a world they want no part of. Darius stepped onto the edge of the crater, arms outstretched, his crimson cloak catching the wind like a banner. "Brothers and sisters," he called, voice echoing across the field, unnatural and amplified. You see, the sky itself recognizes what's coming. You can cling to the past, to broken dreams and fading love, or you can stand with me and take your place in the world to come. A murmur rippled through Calin's ranks, even among the bannerless. Calin knew what he had to do. He stepped forward and answered. I've walked through ash, through dreams, through a world made from pain and a love I barely deserved. I've seen what happens when memory replaces truth, and I won't lie to you. He pointed his sword toward the cradle, now pulsing like a heart beneath the earth. This place? It's not salvation. It's not a throne. It's a choice. Lyra joined him, flame spiraling from her palms. And we choose now, not the past, not what we lost. We choose to burn forward. A silence settled. Then, Marrow lifted her blades. The bannerless roared. The storm split open, and the war began. The battle for the cradle was not fought with lines and formations. It was chaos woven through magic and memory. The forgotten surged forward, a tide of shadows with teeth. The crownless charged, hurling curses and blades that howled like lost souls. Kaelin fought through them like fire made flesh, the Emberheart sword glowing brighter with every heartbeat. Lyra moved beside him, wielding twin flames of dream and waking, immolating creatures born from broken thoughts. Marrow struck like a hurricane, dancing through spells and steel, blades humming with ancient binding runes. But the tide turned when the pale twins appeared. They moved like mirrors, one dressed in white silk, the other in ink-black leather. Their movements were poetry and violence. One struck Kaelin's blade aside with a single touch. The other whispered in Lyra's ear, and she froze. "You dream of a child," the white twin said, circling her, "a future that will never be." "No," Lyra whispered, "you don't know me." "But we are you," said the black twin. "What you buried, what you gave up." Kaelin drove his blade between them, severing the link. "Stay out of her head," he growled. The twins smiled, then vanished into smoke. At the battle's peak, Kaelin reached the edge of the cradle, just as Darius did. The brothers faced each other, breath ragged, magic flickering around them like stormlight. Darius raised his sword. "You still don't get it, do you?" "I don't need to," Kaelin said, leveling his own blade. "I just need to end this." Their swords clashed, and the cradle opened. They weren't on the battlefield anymore. Kaelin and Darius stood in a place without time, inside the cradle itself, a realm of raw creation, of beginnings. They stood on a bridge made of fire over a sea of stars. Memories bloomed around them, flickering images drawn from their past. Their mother, holding them both. Their father, casting his crown into the fire. Lyra dying in the snow. The hollow flame whispering lies. And something else. A third presence. The first flame. It spoke without words. It showed them a truth. They were never meant to rule. Not one of them. The flame belonged to another. Someone yet to come. Darius reeled. "Number this is ours. This power, this world. We bled for it." Kaelin lowered his blade. "Then maybe we bled for the wrong reasons." Darius roared, slashing at the bridge, and the cradle shattered. They fell. Back into the battlefield. Back into war. Back into flame. But something followed them. A light. Pure. Unclaimed. Unbound. Lyra saw it first, and it chose her. She rose, eyes glowing gold white, her body wrapped in phoenix flame. Not a weapon, a beacon. Kaelin reached for her, and the world exploded in light. Chapter 12. Phoenix-born, The light took her. It wasn't heat, it was remaking. The flames didn't consume Lyra, they clarified her, pulled every shattered shard of her spirit from the wreckage of memory and sorrow, and shaped it into something new, something divine. She hovered above the battlefield, her cloak of fire unfurling into massive wings of gold and white, her voice no longer just hers, but a song sung across stars. Kalen staggered to his knees, eyes wide, heart torn between awe and dread. Lyra. She looked at him, and for a breathless second she smiled, soft and human, and still her. "I'm still me," she whispered, voice echoing in his mind. "But something greater is awake now. The first flame didn't belong to either of you, because it chose me." Below them, the fighting stilled. Even the Scorchborn host stopped mid-charge, gazing up in horrified wonder. Darius, blood on his blade, shook his head. "Number. That power was mine. Ours. You stole it." "I didn't steal anything," she said, descending slowly, her feet brushing the cracked earth. "I answered it." She held out a hand to him. "Let go, Darius. This doesn't have to end in ruin." He stared at her hand, and for a breath, something in him hesitated. Then he slashed at her. The blade stopped inches from her skin and shattered. Lyra didn't flinch. She turned to Kalen. "The world isn't ending, but the dream is. We need to leave this realm, let it collapse, and find the place we came from, the true world." Kalen rose beside her. "The way back?" She pointed to the sky. The sun, the real sun, had cracked through the dream sky above, like an eye reopening. A portal burned open in the clouds, a doorway back to the waking world. Kalen gripped her hand, and together they ran. Behind them, the battlefield disintegrated. The bannerless, the crownless, the forgotten, caught between waking and vanishing. Some tried to follow. Some screamed. And some simply watched. They fell into the real world like shooting stars. Kalen hit hard. Real dirt, real blood in his mouth, lungs struggling against air that tasted like ash and steel and truth. No more dream magic to protect him. No soft bends in time, just gravity, pain, and weight. Lyra collapsed beside him, wings fading, her form still burning faintly, but human once more. They were back in the ruins of the old world. Mountains blackened by war, cities half swallowed by earth, the remnants of the hollow flame still whispering in cracks between realms. And on the horizon, a new banner flew. Not Darius's, not Kalen's, but a white sun on a field of crimson. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Someone filled the void. Kalen pushed himself up. Someone survived. Chapter 14. The Rise of the White Sun. They moved through the ruins, careful, silent, hearts pounding. People still lived here, in broken towns, half-starved. Some still remembered the days of the Flame War. Most had forgotten magic altogether. But all feared one thing: the Sunborn Dominion. A new order that rose after the veil shattered. Zealots wielding fire, light, and doctrine. They didn't conquer by sword alone. They converted with visions, promises of rebirth, of burning away the past. Kaelin watched as a village elder was executed for refusing to kneel. Lyra's hands clenched. "They're using light as a weapon," she said. "They're using you," Kaelin replied. And from the shadows, a voice answered, "Number, they're using what's coming." A figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in dusk, eyes starless. Not forgotten, not keeper, something older. "The one who remembers your name," it said to Lyra. "The one you forgot." Lyra took a step back. "What are you?" "I am what was left behind. When you rose, you left the gate open." It raised its hand. Reality bent. Kaelin drew his blade, and everything went black. Darkness wasn't empty. It remembered. Kaelin knew this even as he stumbled through it, hands reaching for Lyra, heart hammering like a war drum against his ribs. He couldn't see, couldn't hear, but he felt, like ice curling down his spine, like grief pressing its lips to his ear and whispering things he almost believed. And just beyond that cold, her. "Lyra," he shouted, voice cracked, swallowed by the dark. "Lyra." No answer. Not at first. Then, soft as ash. "He still loves you." Kaelin froze. It wasn't her voice, but it wore her tone. It mimicked the way she spoke when she was afraid but hiding it behind bravery. The way she sounded when she asked him to stay once, just once, when they were younger and on the run. He turned in the dark, blade raised. "Where is she?" he snarled. The voice came again, closer now. "She left me behind, buried me when she rose, but I remember everything. The girl who cried at the river, the girl who touched the hollow flame, the girl who broke the rules of gods, for you." Kaelin gritted his teeth. "You're not her, and I'm not afraid of you." A pause. "That's a lie." The dark peeled open, and Kaelin stood in a memory. It was raining, summer storm, cold and hard. A small cottage outside the village of Terrawind. He remembered this place too well. This was the last time he saw Lyra cry. She was 17. He was 19. She had just found out her mother had died. No warning, no farewell. Lyra had stood in the rain, her fists clenched, magic sparking uncontrolled at her fingertips. And Kaelin had walked away. Afraid. Unable to handle her grief. Now, he stood in that same memory, watching his past self retreat down the road as Lyra whispered, "Please don't leave." He choked. The real Lyra stepped beside him. Not the memory, the now. She stared at the younger version of herself, small, broken, utterly alone. "I forgot this," she whispered. "You buried it," Kaelin said, "like I did." The darkness pulsed. The being's voice wrapped around them both like chains soaked in sorrow. "You left pieces behind when you dreamed yourselves new, but I found them. I fed on them. I grew. And now I want the rest." The storm shattered, and the true form of the being took shape. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't even a god. It was memory rot, a manifestation of the pieces people forget to grieve, the traumas buried, the pain rewritten by magic and love. It had Lyra's first flame, Kaelin's fear, the whispers of every dying king. It remembered everything because they had forgotten. Lyra stepped forward, hair burning with white fire, eyes glowing with fierce sorrow. "You aren't me," she said. "No," it agreed. "I am what you gave up to become her." "Then take it," she said. Kaylin turned to her. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "I can't keep running from the parts of me that hurt, that were weak, that needed." She reached for the creature. Kaylin grabbed her hand. "If you give it all your pain, it'll devour you." "No," she said gently, "it will free me." She stepped into the memory, into the darkness, and hugged her younger self. For a moment, everything was still. Then the storm broke. Light tore through the sky like dawn finally arriving after 1,000 years of night. The creature screamed, not in pain but in release. Its form unraveled, not in violence but in peace. It wasn't being killed, it was being understood, and it faded. Gone. Kaylin caught her as she stumbled. Her fire was gone. Her wings, too. She looked up at him, eyes red with tears, but brighter than ever. "I'm just me again." He held her, forehead pressed to hers. "I've never loved you more." But peace never lasts long. As they emerged from the memory realm, the real world greeted them not with warmth, but with war drums. The Sunborn Dominion had arrived, led not by Darius, not by gods, but by the final keeper, one who had stayed silent until now. Veryl's twin, the Unmaker. He wore a crown of molten gold and a cloak of blinding truth. And, as he raised his hand, he spoke only one word: burn. To continue the story, come back tomorrow night for the exciting adventure of this new world. Again, I hope you have a wonderful night and sweet dreams.